for the post. This is where you would actually go down. This is the where the shaft is. We can't get in because it's all being strapped up because people have tried to get in. But if you want to come through, just watch your heads and I'll point out the actual bits and pieces.
I brought one of these as well. This is the post coverall. Yeah, yeah. So I just put my rank slides on it. Yeah, so this is what they wore in the 80s, you know, when they were, you know, doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the group control, we just kept uniforms. So we had the woolly pulleys if it was cold, or uniforms. You know, we didn't.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't need to go out really. So once we were in there, we're in there. You know, we were locked in.
Do you want to give it?
Sorry.
Was developed in the late 1950s. I believe this was constructed in 1958/9, and essentially the actual main area was open at that time. There was none of these trees, and when I actually got permission to actually restore this, this was just clear. There was no trees like this, so this has grown up over the last 10-15 years. Essentially, if you remember on the presentation that John did, there was the main entrance, which is this here, and the observer would have climbed onto the step here, and this would have opened upwards, swung open, and there would have been a ladder on this side that they could have gone down, and that then led into the basement area. And where Chris has stood directly underneath there was an area for the toilet, and then there was a door about here underground, and they walked through into the main compartment area, and you can see the probe popping up. That would have been for the actual bomb power indicator, and it would have had a dome.
That's the
Sorry.
FSM. That's the
Sorry, fixed survey meter.
Yeah.
That's right. The small one there is the bomb power indicator.
yeah.
The bomb power indicator there, which is a small, can you see the steel
green
pipe?
Oh, that little pipe.
The little
yeah,
top
to
on
the
that
left of it.
unscrewed, and what was placed on top was what was called a baffle plate, which was basically 2 discs, and through the 2 discs area, the overpressure of a bomb burst would have actually been directed down the pipe, and it would have registered on the instrument that we saw. But the fixed survey meter there, that starts at the top of the actual post, so underground. When you stood, you used a rod, which is basically the length of this stick, and they would have pushed it up and locked it in place, and the actual probe that was connected to the fixed survey meter for registering the radiation levels came out of that top, but was protected by a polycarbonate plastic dome, which sat and was bolted on.
About this high, and it sat inside there. So you know, you could happily read the radiation, and you were well protected. You know,
Down below.
by about 1,000 to 1, you know, protection. So whatever it was in here, it's at least 1,000th down there, because you're in a concrete box.
Yes.
And essentially, so the main ventilation areas were in through here, where this has been broken off, and this would have had a cover on it, and the cover there would have mounted like a mushroom, a steel cast iron mushroom, where the ground zero indicator would have bolted on top of. That ground zero indicator mushroom would have been aligned to the fixed points, so that it could only fit one way, and so that when you actually placed it on, you knew that it was pointing north, south, east and west. Essentially that would have gone there, and it looks like that's been taken anyway. But you can see the vent would have gone down through there, and there's a vent hole there which it would have allowed air to flow through. Wasn't really that good in terms of airflow, but there were vents that you could actually close off if you did want to suffocate yourself. And the other one you can see there, the pagoda building, is another vent to allow the airflow through. On top of it is non-standard. It was a weather vane, because this was what was called a METAR post, which was basically a meteorological post. As John mentioned, they used to do the weather forecasting, and that was specifically made by the former chief observer here, who's no longer around, bless him, Steve Moody, and it was mounted on there so that they could actually determine the wind direction. Obviously, wouldn't probably work now with all these trees around, but in the day it was quite good. So yeah, so this is the post itself, and rather looking a little bit forlorn now in its vandalised state. But when I actually started to restore this post, everything was on it. There's the tops and the entrance hatch, but that's all been vandalised now, and obviously because of that there's no way you could risk opening it up to the public up here. As you can see, the actual area is quite forested. You know, you've got the woods over there where it's easy for people to disappear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the posts up in Scotland